Hi everyone, Miss Snow here. Welcome to 16.4 Evidence of Evolution. Key questions for today's lesson. We should be able to answer these by the end. You should go back and look at them maybe and question, did you learn this material? How does the geographic distribution of species today relate to their evolutionary history? How do fossils help to document the descent of modern species from ancient ancestors? What do homologous structures and similarities in embryonic development suggest about the process of evolutionary change? Some vocabulary. You should get the definition. Biogeography, homologous structures, analogous structures, and vestigial structure. I don't know if you can see that. We'll find out. It'll come up later anyways. All right. Taking notes. A suggestion is to construct a concept map that shows the kinds of evidence that support the theory of evolution. Maybe you want to look up concept map, or maybe you've done brain maps or things like that before. So at the end, challenge yourself. Make a concept map that shows the kinds of evidence that support the theory of evolution. All right, so mouse, there you are. Okay. Evolution, my favorite definition of evolution, and it's a scientific one. Descent with modification. That means a descendant, somebody or something who has come after an ancestor. So there has been change over time. Okay. Something that's kind of going around right now is that a chicken is descendant from a T-Rex. That is not true. So they do have a common ancestor back here in the Jurassic period, and you can see over time where they have diverged. They've separated in the evolutionary records. So here's the T-Rex. Here's the chicken. They have evolved along different times. But you can see how both have changed over time. All right. All right. So my favorite fossil is the Nevada State fossil. Let me move my picture out of the way. The ichthyosaur, and you can imagine that the different ichthyosaurs had different adaptations to best suit them to their environment. So the Shinosaurus is an ichthyosaur. It's the big white one here. It lived about 125 million years ago and roamed the oceans of Nevada, among other places. Oh, I thought I hit next. That's okay. All right, here I am at the Ichthyosaur Museum. I'm trying to look at my other screen and check my notes as well. This is okay. It's in Berlin, Nevada. And this Shinosaurus is really huge. This is to scale right there. So, love to show you all my pictures, but don't have time. Either you're grateful or you're sad. I'm not sure which. Here we go next. Biogeography is one of your vocab words. So biogeography is the study of where organisms live now and where they and their ancestors lived in the past. So this is a Shasta ground sloth. It also lived, or at least roamed, through Nevada and other places as shown here on the map. So there's a gypsum cave near the Nellis Air Force Base where they have found remains of this sloth. They found other things: wolf, a stilt-legged horse, 2 types of camels, deer, bighorn sheep, just to name a few. So we're looking at patterns in the distribution of living and fossil species to tell us how modern organisms evolved from their ancestors. So there are 2 biogeographic patterns to consider when looking at fossils. One is closely related but different, and the other is distantly related but similar. So let's look at these 2 patterns here. Okay. Closely related but different. So here is an example. These are famous finches from the Galapagos. They originated from a common ancestor. When they became separated on different islands, different traits became more exaggerated, and the finches became different over time. So you can see there are differences in size, and most notably in the shape of their beaks. So these different shapes allow them to eat different types of fruit or seeds, whatever was most common on their various islands. Okay, so Darwin studied these and he noticed their differences. There have been other people who have studied them as well. All right, distantly related but similar. I'm clicking on all the pages here. Similar habitats around the world are often home to animals and plants that are only distantly related. These animals have different body structures that provide evidence that they're not closely related, but other attributes suggest that similar selection pressures cause similar adaptations. So we've got these rheas, the emu, the ostrich, and they all have a different order, genus, and species. But they look very similar, right? They have similar adaptations, but they're distantly related. Okay. So how do fossils help to document the descent of modern species from ancient ancestors? Well, all historical records are incomplete, and the history of life is no exception. The evidence we do have, though, tells a remarkable story of evolutionary change. So fossils can document intermediate stages in the evolution of many different groups of modern species. So Ambulocetus, which is this guy right here. Ambulo means walking around, right? Like if you're ambulatory, you're able to walk. So this guy has limb structures that suggest that it walked and swam in shallow water. This one right here, Rhodocetus, has a limb structure that cannot bear much weight. It's not strong enough. So this suggests that it spent most of their time in the water. And here we go. These are theorized to be ancestors of modern whales. And so modern whales also have a reduced limb bone structure, and they don't play any part in the mobility of a whale. Okay, so they do show that they did have maybe in the past, here we go, you know, like this guy was walking on land, and he's an ancestor of the modern whale. So all these in-between guys can help us piece together the picture. All right. Next in the slideshow, comparing anatomy and embryology. So homo is Greek for same. Homologous structures are from the same ancestor. Let's move my picture again. Here we go. But they have been adapted to different purposes. So we can see the color-coded homologous structures here. We've got the humerus bone. If you ever hit your funny bone in your arm, you know it's not very humorous. Thanks, I'll be here all week. We also have the radius and the ulna bone. So those are shown in purple. We've got some homologous structures. The carpals, which make up the wrists, and the metacarpals and the phalanges on people. Our phalanges are our fingers. So the structures are the same, but the frog would use their structures for hopping, the alligator maybe for walking, the chicken is part of their wing, and the horse for running. So they have same structures, but different functions. Okay. All right. So another way of thinking about that, if everyone had some popsicle sticks and you were asked to make a dwelling, we would get a variety of results. So we all started with the same material, but it was used differently to make unique dwellings. So if you had more directions and more, maybe you were making one for the Arctic or the desert, then you would make your dwelling best suited to that environment. All right, so analogous structures then. An analogy in English class is a comparison between two things. So analogous structures have comparable functions, but they do not have common structures. So they're thought not to have shared ancestry. So we've got the bat, the butterfly, and the insects. They all have wings and they can fly, but the structures in the wings are different. So they have a common function, but not a common structure. The next type of structure used to infer relationships are vestigial structures. Vestiges are traces of things that are disappearing or are no longer left. So vestigial structures are inherited from ancestors but have lost most or all of their original function due to natural selection. So in humans, our appendix is part of our immune system, but it can be removed without many consequences. So it's thought to be no longer necessary. This Italian three-toed skink has tiny legs that are considered vestigial. And then even in the whale, we've got the pelvis bone, which is vestiges of an ancestor having limbs. Even embryonic development among vertebrates is very similar, and this provides further evidence of a common origin. All right, DNA analysis also shows that certain genes have very similar genetic codes. Here are some sequences of some Hox genes that are used in coding of regions of the body plan in embryos. You can see that the code is very similar, and we also, molecular biology, we can also show this in molecules like proteins that are found across species. All right, so here are some Hox genes. They are color-coded, and it just shows which part of the body the Hox gene codes for. Kind of cool to look at. All right, wow, let's review. A lot of material. Evolution is descent with modification, change over time. Patterns in the geographic distribution of species can tell us how organisms have evolved from their ancestors. Recent fossil finds have helped us fill in the fossil record gap. Comparative anatomy, genetics, and molecular biology can show evolutionary relationships. Homologous structures, homo means the same, so they have the same ancestor, but different function. Analogous structures, they have same function, but different ancestor. And then vestigial structures are evidences left behind of something in the past that an ancestor may have used that's just not necessary anymore, or hasn't been selected, like natural selection decided we didn't need it. All right, I hope that made sense. I hope you guys have a fabulous time. Remember that chickens are not from T-Rexes, but they are from dinosaurs. All right, see you later. Bye.